oh, I've got quite a big gap, I'll go and ring my agent and see what this is all about. Went down with my 10p's, you know, putting them in. And she was a bit cross. She answered the phone, she said, "Oh, Sophie, I've been ringing you all day, where have you been?" And I said, "Well, I've just been around," and, you know. She said, "Oh dear, it's so complicated." She said, "They want you for Doctor Who, but it's a lot more complicated, I have to ring you back." So she put the phone down and I just stood there going, they want me for 3 episodes of Doctor Who, fantastic, you know. I was back row of the chorus in Fiddler on the Roof. So she rang me back and she said, "I'm sorry I was cross, but it's so exciting." She said, "They've said, would you be interested in taking over the role as Doctor Who's assistant?" And I mean, you've got to think about, there I was, you know, living in this council flat in Hume in Manchester. They've knocked them all down now because they were so rubbish. And, you know, on an equity minimum wage, in the back row of the chorus, and suddenly there I'm offered this possibility to be a Doctor Who assistant. It was absolutely amazing. So I kind of said, well, yeah, okay. Put the phone down, walked out of the phone booth, you know, in full costume. And the first person I saw was John Scott Martin, who used to be Daleks, and he was a Zabi, wasn't he? And all sorts of... Oh yeah, he'd been around Doctor Who for years. And everybody had kind of been talking to him, "Oh, you were in Doctor Who? How fantastic was that?" And I kind of was dazed. I came out of the door and said, "I've got the part. And they think they might want me for the new assistant." And he was playing the rabbi in our production of Fiddler on the Roof. He reached inside for a pocket here and he pulled out a BBC standard postcard with 3 Daleks on one side, and on the back he'd written, "Dear Sophie, welcome to the family. You will not be exterminated." And I said, "How did you know?" He said, "I just had a feeling." It was amazing. And then I had to go on stage, and I was like totally in a daze. And the next scene, as it was called the gossip scene. And it began with one of the chorus saying, you know, "Have you heard? Have you heard?" So of course I went on stage, and this was, "Have you heard? Have you heard? Sophie's got this amazing part in Doctor Who." And they were all talking about it, slapping me on the back, going, "Oh, well done, Sophie, that's fantastic." And then Topol comes on from the opposite side, and he sort of, "What's going on here?" says, you know, Tevye, his character. Anyway, he came on stage, he walked over the other side of the stage, threw his arms round me, said, "Well done, Sophie." Walked back the other side of the stage and carried on with the show. What the audience must have thought, I don't know. And then what it was that I had to keep it a secret, that the thing about the possibility of being the assistant, because Bonnie hadn't quite decided whether or not, or it wasn't Bonnie, it was her agent, I think. And so we started rehearsals. We went on for about a week or so with Tony Selby saying, well, Sylvester and I just clicked like that straight away. And Tony Selby saying, "I'll tell you what, you'd be a really great Doctor Who assistant. Have you ever thought of it? I think you'd work really well." It was really weird. It's sort of, I don't know how, he hadn't got wind of anything. So of course, when after the first day in studio, and it was found out that I didn't limp and that I could look at the camera in the right way and I didn't crack the lens or anything like that, John Nathan Turner came down the stairs and said, lit a cigarette in the middle of the studio floor, which of course you couldn't do now still. "Well, we're on, if you're on," he said. And I took that to mean that, you know, I got the part. And I said, "Oh, yes, please." And that was it. And then, of course, Tony Selby was convinced it was all to do with him, you know. "Oh, yeah, well, you know, I knew, that was me, that was, you know, I knew she'd be a good assistant." It was great.
Fabulous. Okay, William, you've got a question, haven't you?
Why did you want to be an actress?
Oh, why did I want to be an actress? He sounds sweet, but, you know. Sorry, that was a bit rude. why did I want to be an actress? I don't know. I think it was something that I think people are born with it. I don't know. That's how I felt. That as soon as I could sort of think about, had the ability to think about what I'd like to do, I was just putting on shows and plays and bossing around all the children in the neighbourhood to be in my plays, and I was playing Prince Charming because I was a tomboy, and and anyway all the men seemed to have the best parts, so I was always the man, and everybody else just had to sort of do what I said. My husband would probably say plus ça change, so it was something that I always grew. I always thought I would be, and I always wanted to be, and it was sort of, it's a bit like that, really. Is there something you think that you would like to be? Because you like acting, don't you? And you like dancing, and you like singing. Is that because I'm your singing teacher?
It's weird what you're saying, because I was kind of exactly the same as a kid, and then when I got into drama college I turned them down. I bottled it and went to become a teacher, but it was always still there, and then 10 years later I kind of decided, no, I don't want to teach anymore, I want to do this. It's always been inside me, and I think you're right. I think it's just something that sits in you, and you know it's there, and you want to get it out.
It's very interesting. Richard Bryars, I think it was, who said, if you want to be an actor, then don't bother. If you have to be an actor, then that's the key, really.
Derek Jacobi, he said it.
Was it Derek Jacobi?
Yes.
Ah.
Beautiful.
Or maybe he nicked it off Richard Bryars.
Maybe it goes around.
Adam, you got another question?
What was your scariest monster?
What was my scariest monster? Well, when I was growing up, it was the Cybermen. I couldn't stand the Cybermen. I think it must have been around Tomb of the Cybermen, maybe. It was the ones where the mouths click open and that noise just comes out like that. Was it that one? Which was that?
Yeah,
and I really didn't like the fact that they were humanoid. I thought, and I still think that that's true. I think the humanoid monsters are the scariest, because there's something that you're expecting them to be, emotional, sort of to be able to have a relationship of some kind, or to be able to know how to, but they're not. And I think that that's fantastic. I was really, really scared of the Cybermen, and my mum stopped me watching it because I was having nightmares, and she said, no, can't watch this anymore. And I was quite relieved, actually, when she said that, because I was watching it sort of this thing because I thought I had to, and then when she said no, that was very good. But then, of course, I'm so lucky, because how many people who are scared by something on TV when they're young get a chance to do the sort of therapy of killing some when they grow up. Fantastic. So me with my catapults and my gold coins, that was very good catharsis for me. It was brilliant.
You were always also quite freaked out by the monsters in Fenric, weren't you? The Curse of Fenric?
I thought that the monsters in Fenric worked incredibly well, and again, because they were based on these sort of humanoid creatures, they were very well done. Even if it has to be done on the cheap, like they were, then that was a brilliant way of doing it, of doing a mask of the head and the hands, and then to have these sort of, barnacled costumes of various sort of characters throughout the ages was so clever. It happened because of budget, but it worked so well. And the scene where they kind of start coming out of the sea, I think that works so brilliantly. Although it was tricky for the people who were wearing the costumes, because of course the water was getting inside the rubber and floating. So they found it very difficult to get under the water. It was the stunt guy. So he had to get progressively larger rocks that he would walk into the sea with, hold on to